We are joined by Ric Grenell. Ric is on the trail. Again, he's been on the trail for months and now in Nevada, and we always appreciate him joining us. Our Senior Advisor, Foreign Policy and National Security, but campaign expert as well. I mean, Ric, just right off the top, we now know that President Biden's going to give the second round speech to demonize conservative, MAGA-supporting Americans tonight in a 7 p.m. Eastern Time address to the nation in front of the Capitol. Just your reaction. My kind of initial reaction is let Joe Biden talk. The more he talks, it usually turns people off. But he is trying to demonize, scare enough voters into thinking, oh, we can't elect these Republicans like Adam Laxalt in Nevada. We just had Sekulow Chana on our broadcast because they're crazy and they can't be trusted.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm on the bus with Adam Laxalt going through small towns in Nevada. We're on our way to Ely, Nevada. If anybody is in and around there, they can join us today. But the reality is what I hear on the ground, what I hear from people is that the inflation, skyrocketing inflation, the woke culture, the fact that we have a Supreme Court justice who doesn't know what a man or a woman is, and she can't tell the difference, and she says she can't tell the difference because she's not a biologist. This is the type of ridiculousness that has infected the United States. So the more Joe Biden comes out and talks, the more he turns off people. This is why people like Catherine Cortez Masto is not campaigning with Joe Biden. She doesn't want him anywhere near Nevada. I'll tell you who did come to Nevada last night was Barack Obama, and it was a pathetic showing. There weren't that many people. I mean, let's be honest about what's happening. Barack Obama cannot get a crowd. Donald Trump has a crowd 50 times as large. So you tell me where the energy in this country is to stop what's going on.
You know, Ric, we know they're running on this abortion issue, right? Because the Supreme Court did the right thing in Dobbs in saying there's no federal constitutional right to abortion, which made sense. So the court issues to this, and they're going to run on abortion. And then, of course, we had these attacks on pregnancy resource centers, and we're involved with the intelligence communities on that. And the Department of Homeland Security was, setting out guidelines, and they allowed comments, and we responded. And here is the response. And I know when you were the director of national intelligence, all these agency heads reported to you. I mean, you've been in this role as a cabinet member in the cabinet of a president of the United States. But we just got this letter, and I'm going to read it because it is so ridiculous. And it shows you the political correctness of what's going on in the country. This is to you, Jordan. Dear Mr. Sekulow, thank you for your September 8th, 2022 letter regarding Executive Order 14076, protecting access to reproductive health care services, and your concerns regarding potential impact from the order on pregnancy resource centers. Secretary Mayorkas asked that I respond on his behalf. Now, you expect you'd get a response. Here's the response. We appreciate your detailed expression of concern regarding how the executive order may be implemented, but the department is committed to carrying out the directions of the president, including assignments made to it in its executive orders in a manner consistent with the Constitution and all applicable laws. Thank you again for your letter and interest in this important issue. In other words, Ric, they basically told us we don't care what happens to these crisis pregnancy centers, pregnancy resource centers, if they get bombed, which they have been, if they get terrorized, that's fine too. So they want to run on this. But then when it comes down to actually administering the law, equal justice under the law, and this is why people need to vote. This is the kind of response you get.
Yeah, look, Republicans sat by, and we let them do sanctuary cities, which was literally an attack on our immigration laws. Now we see through letters like this that the federal government doesn't care if pregnancy centers are bombed and vandalized. They don't care. They're not going to enforce the law because they are for abortion and they are for open borders. And so they are picking and choosing which laws to enforce according to their political beliefs. It is an attack on our democracy. They talk about attacks on our democracy constantly, but this is the perfect example. I want to emphasize one thing that you just said, Jay. Get out and vote.
Yes.
I want to be harsh to the pro-life community. We just got a big win because Donald Trump appointed all of the pro-life judges that we needed. This is a God-given gift. You must now get out and show them that they can't walk this back. You have to drag people to the polls. Now is the time after we win to protect the wins. Otherwise, it will roll back and we have to start all over.
Can I add something to this? Because Rick's right. And this is where I want to speak to these people that we get them every day on the broadcast. And, Rick, I'm sure you're getting it out in the field. Oh, my vote doesn't count. Listen, the laws have been toughened up. And, overwhelming response could be overwhelming victory. But you've got to vote, folks. And this idea that you're not going to vote because you didn't think your vote counted last time is ridiculous reason to not vote. Because I just read you the response from the current head of DHS, which is basically, like Rick said, crisis pregnancy centers, pregnancy resources centers are being bombed. Oh, we don't care about that. That's okay. That's not the priority of the president. Instead, the priority of the president tonight is going to be another attempt to demonize conservatives and say the democracy is at stake if you vote pro-life. I mean, that's what they need to understand. That's what he's saying. If you vote pro-life, you are putting the democracy at risk. Rick, that is exactly. He has said it, by the way. Words to that effect.
Yeah, and they're shaming us, they're mocking us, and more importantly, they're not enforcing the law because of their politics. And so, I want to emphasize that we have tried to fix the system. Do we need to do it more? Absolutely, yes. But we have made some changes. We just got a huge win in Pennsylvania when it comes to having ballots that are not properly signed, not counted. We are doing the little fixes, but I'll tell you the big way to do the fixes is to elect these attorney generals like Sekulow, who you just had on in Nevada, Abe Hamadeh in Arizona. You've got to have the attorneys general who are going to fight these ridiculous laws, and that's how we're going to win. So put these people in office.
I want to say one thing about the Pennsylvania case. That was a good one out of the Supreme Court. Let me tell you this, though. I only handled one case. We only handled one case for President Trump at the Supreme Court on the election issue. And we handled other cases during the course of his term, many, but one at the Supreme Court. And it involved late ballots that came in after the statutory deadline. And we won that. And people forget that. We won that. The court said, no, you got to segregate those. Can't count those with the general elections because the legislature doesn't have the authority. The legislature has the authority to do it, not a court. These kind of decisions matter. But right now, vote is critical. I mean, Rick, I think there's going to be this red wave. Jordan thinks so too. But Jordan, you make that point that the wave is going to be the final number of Republicans versus Democrats, but the races themselves are going to be razor thin.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're with Adam Laxalt right now. The polling, I mean, it's a turnout. I mean, Rick, that's ultimately, listen, we want all these candidates to win by 10 points. That would be wonderful and be great. But the idea here is we know we're in a country that's divided. We know there's a lot of bad info coming out about candidates that we support out there. But this is now the opportunity, like you said, for conservatives to find their friends, to find family, and get out and vote. This is the key, because we will not win any of these races if people don't show up and vote.
Well, I'm just having a flash forward to 1 week from today where we're on the radio talking about what happened last night in all the different races. And I pray that we're not regretting that we didn't have more people vote. If we don't win the Senate and stop this Biden agenda, then we've got 2 more years of craziness. We have an opportunity next Tuesday to stop this. And I would say to people, don't just vote and then watch the television to see what happens. You have to go drag every family member out. I will tell you, there's a whole bunch of people that say they will vote, that want to vote, that will vote red if they vote, but something comes up. They miss an appointment or they're running late, and then they don't vote.
And we know people that went to the rallies for the former president and the mass rallies with 30 and 40,000 people and never voted in an election. Yeah, they wanted the entertainment value, but they didn't want to go out and vote.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you on election day, you need to prepare. I mean, Rick, in places like Nevada, there going to be lines. We need to be dedicated to staying in line. I mean, stay in line, bring your friends, have more fun in line.
Right.
And again, plan. I know it's like the basic messages, but Rick, we've all worked on campaigns our whole life. That is the basic message at this point: is plan it out. Get if you need help with your kids or if you're going to bring your kids. No, it could be, some time in line, and it's worth it for our country, for your state, for our democratic republic.